This generation has been a very interesting generation for the Xbox brand. Coming off the success of the Xbox 360, you gotta feel like Microsoft was riding on a high. The Xbox 360 was really the premier platform. All of the third-party games ran best on the Xbox 360. It had a great library of first-party games. People always seemed to pick up the Xbox 360. It was pretty much synonymous with gaming. But of course, the launch of the Xbox One really sort of dwindled those effects that the Xbox 360 had on the gaming industry. A high price point, mandatory Connect, and just a really weird presentation to first unveil the Xbox One really sort of put Microsoft in an interesting position. Now, a lot of people say that I am extra hard on Microsoft. I actually get messages on Xbox Live with people telling me things like that. And maybe I am, but I just sort of expect them to do better. Because of the success that they had with the Xbox 360, it's obvious that the company knows how to make a quality system, and it's obvious the company knows how to make quality first-party games on their platform. Well, the Xbox One has been a bit of an up and down. It's been a very interesting 2018, but we have some new information coming out about Xbox One's 2019 that sounds pretty crazy, admittedly. When I first heard of this, I was like, this is absolutely insane. But the more I thought about it, the more maybe it kind of makes sense, and maybe it'll actually work for the Xbox One brand. So what is Xbox One planning in 2019? Why do I think it's so crazy? But in the same breath, why do I think it might actually work and help out the Xbox brand? Sit back, relax, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and let's talk about Xbox One in 2019 and why their plans are pretty crazy.
Hey, RGT 85. Hey, Sean.
Oh my God, it's Stevie Richards! So this story is coming to us from a website called Therot.com. Now, admittedly, I'm not too familiar with this website, but pretty much every major gaming publication and website on the internet is now reporting this story. So pretty much it's that when there's smoke, there's fire situation. If all of these other websites are reporting on it, they probably know something. They just didn't want to come out into the public with it, but they feel confident enough to talk about this story. The main story going on here is that the Xbox One will actually receive 2 new systems in 2019. Now, one of the systems I think is kind of pointless. The other system, though, I think is the crazy aspect that could potentially work for the Xbox One brand. So first off, we're going to talk about the system that I think is a bit kind of pointless, and that is a revision of the Xbox One S. This will be essentially a cost-cutting measure for Microsoft, much like you see with other systems that come out. You know, they do like to do things like this and make different price points of entry for people. But the Xbox One S revision is essentially just a price cut of the Xbox One S with probably some cheaper materials done and things like that. I don't really see the need for it. I think the Xbox One S is priced at a decent price point. Maybe they could, lower the price point of the current Xbox One S to sort of meet that demand and things like that. You also have the premium system with the Xbox One X. So I'm not quite sure why they would bother to do a revision of the Xbox One S. I have an Xbox One S. I love my Xbox One S. I think it's a really good and solid system. So that just doesn't really make much sense to me, but I guess maybe there is a market for it. Now, the second system, of course, is the one that we're going to talk about mostly because this is the most interesting system. It looks like there is another SKU of the Xbox One coming to the market in 2019, but this is going to be a diskless system. Yes, folks, a Xbox One without a disk drive. And a lot of people are like, whoa, that is pretty bold. Now, you got to remember, Microsoft has been sort of pushing for things like that. If you remember the initial unveiling of the Xbox One, that's the sort of thing that they wanted to do with it. Of course, there's been tons of rumors about Project Scarlet potentially releasing with 2 SKUs, one with a disk drive and one without a disk drive. Obviously, disk drives are an expensive part of the system. So if Xbox was able to launch an Xbox One that did not feature a disk drive, that would really cut down on costs of the development of the system. Now, allegedly, they are planning for this system to be under $200, which I think is very, very important. You need to have a very low price point of entry for this system, and I feel like you need some additional features as well, which we'll talk about a little bit later on in the video. But as far as what you would do with your actual games, if you were to upgrade or I guess maybe downgrade to this system, how would you be able to do something with those games? Well, they're actually doing a disc to digital program supposedly with this, where you could go into certain retailers like a Microsoft store allegedly and trade in your games and get digital copies of those games to use on your Xbox One, which is very, very interesting to me because I'm not quite sure how that would work. Like, I don't feel like that would be a mass production thing. You know, I don't feel like a lot of stores would really tap into that market and want to get things like that, because obviously a discless Xbox One is going to be its own individual thing. So to have people trade in their games to get digital copies of the game is very, very curious to me. I'm not quite sure how that would work, but a discless Xbox One honestly kind of makes sense to me. And I know that sounds strange because obviously I'm a big advocate for physical media. I love physical media. Look at what's going on with Telltale games right now on Steam. Some of them are disappearing. Of course, all of the games that have disappeared over the years on different marketplaces that were games that we can't play anymore. Games like The Simpsons Arcade on the Xbox 360 is gone. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, PT. You know, it's definitely a very dangerous world to have all digital, but it wouldn't really be all digital. It would just be all digital for this one Xbox One SKU. And I think that could actually work. If they could get this below $200, maybe at the $150 price point, and put in like a month or two of free Xbox Gold and a month or two of free Game Pass, because gotta remember, Game Pass is on sale right now for like $2 or something like that for first time buyers into the program. But I feel like that could open the door to a more casual audience. You can obviously do things like streaming video on the Xbox One. You can play games on your Xbox One, of course. So to have a device for like $150 that streams movies, that accesses the internet, that can do a lot of different things and play games is really promising in my opinion. Game Pass absolutely kicks ass. I am a big advocate for Game Pass because it allows me to check out games that I probably wouldn't be interested in otherwise. Games that I don't necessarily want to pick up on day one that are exclusive to the Xbox One. Games that are older games that maybe I never played or maybe I never checked out, and it allows me to check out these games. So I like Game Pass. I think it does a very good service. Now, of course, there are questions with this device because one thing, it's obviously going to have a lot of storage on there. If you're only doing digital games, a lot of these digital games are absolutely massive. So if you're having an all digital device where you're not doing any discs and things like that, you're going to have a lot of storage on this device. So I'm curious to see how they will be able to sort of remedy that situation. But really, one of the most important things is they need to have games to supplement these two new SKUs, because obviously it's going to be a very interesting 2019 overall. You have Nintendo gearing up for this absolutely crazy 2019 when you look at all of the games that they are supposedly proposing to bring to the market during this time. You have Sony, who's been very quiet with things going on, obviously taking a step back from E3. So, you know, what's going on with Sony? What are they planning to do in 2019? Is it just going to be games like Death Stranding and The Last of Us 2, or do they have more surprises up their sleeve? I think Xbox is definitely seeing this as a potential opportunity, though, to sort of get people invested into this. And I think the most important thing about this discless Xbox One is just sort of a future test, sort of a litmus test to see if the gaming industry is ready for discless based systems. Because let's face it, the only people who like discs and physical media are consumers. Companies hate it. Companies don't want to have to spend extra money to do marketing materials on the games and stuff like that, to do a little flyer to put in the case, to actually have a case, and of course actually have a disc or a cartridge. They don't want that. They want to cut costs as much as possible. Consumers are the only one who want to keep physical media. So this will be a good way for Xbox to see if consumers are ready for this all digital future that is eventually coming. Maybe they're trying to make it come sooner than later, but I just think it's very interesting. Obviously they need to have some more games. Right now in 2019, we really only know about Crackdown 3, which is kind of, I'm not too sure on that game, and of course an upcoming Gears of War game that a lot of people are expecting to come to the Xbox One. Now, of course, Microsoft has purchased a lot of new studios recently, but a lot of people feel like those studios are working on games for the successor to the Xbox One and not necessarily the Xbox One. I feel like they need to have at least one or two of those studios working on Xbox One titles, primarily because exclusives still sell really well. Look at the best-selling games of 2018. You got games like Spider-Man and God of War on the PlayStation 4. Super Mario Odyssey and The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild both sold extremely well for the Nintendo Switch. So console exclusives are still a very viable market and still a very important market. And I feel like Microsoft needs to sort of understand that and tap into those potential markets more in 2019. What does this say about Project Scarlet, though? Is the Project Scarlet not going to be a 2019 release like a lot of people are feeling? Is that going to be delayed until 2020? I don't know, but it's definitely going to be a very interesting 2019 for Xbox. But I think if they can introduce this discless-based system at like $150 that comes with Xbox Gold and Game Pass for a month or two, I think this could be a big hit, and it'll be very interesting to see how all this pans out. But let me know in the comments section down below what you think of this news story. Do you think that Xbox will introduce introduced 2 new systems in the marketplace? Do you think the Xbox One S revision is pointless like I do because I just don't see the need for it? Or do you like this sort of thing, and do you like to see this discless based system? Let me know in the comments section down below. And as always, thank you for checking out this video. If you're new to the channel, check out other videos on the channel and look in the pinned comment in the comment section down below. We're giving away a $100 eShop gift card right now, and there's still plenty of time to enter, so make sure you guys enter that. And as always, I will catch you guys on the next video. Later.